Well, let's get the ball rolling for Terence Crawford at welterweight. You know, the WBO announced through his Twitter. I'm going to link the article in the description from Boxing Scene to let you know there's trill. They announced that Terence Crawford is Jeff Horn's mandatory. This your boy CJ Goodfellow back with the Boxing Clinic. And Jeff Horn, we've been kind of, following him very closely. And he's been calling out everybody but Terence Crawford. You know, at first he said, I'll take on anybody catch this fade. I'm Jeff Horn. You know what I'm saying? But when it came down to it, now he was trying to make a fight with Conor McGregor. He was trying to do what he wanted to do. Now the Pacquiao was out the way. If you don't know the Pacquiao situation and why the WBO just skipped over him, he only wants to fight Jeff Horn in the Philippines, not in Vegas or not in Brisbane. And, it was a little thing in the contract that said, Australia got the first crack at, the rights to make a deal for the Crawford and Pacquiao rematch. They had the best offer. They won it, so Pacquiao just goes away. And now Terence Crawford is being entrenched as the WBO mandatory for Jeff Horn. This is a fight that I would love to see. Bob Arum was already talked about making it in Vegas. And, Jeff Horn is scared. Team Jeff Horn is scared for Jeff Horn to leave out of Brisbane because they know what's going to happen to him. And hopefully Terence Crawford doesn't have to go over there. But if he does, I look for him to bring that belt back home and don't even leave it in the judge's hands. And we knew Jeff Horn wasn't about it when he chose this UK guy, Gary Corcan or whatever it is, this guy. When he didn't chose Bradley Skeet, saying, Bradley Skeet is the boringest fighter in the world. That's what his team promoter said. Went to watch him, once fell asleep. But, who is this guy that you fighting? It's an optional defense, so he can do whatever you want to do. But it ain't gonna get you ready for Terence Crawford. Eventually you're gonna get that belt up to Crawford, boy. And then Crawford's reign at welterweight and rise to the top, and him actually being in there in the mix with the big boys, with the Thurman, Spence, Porter, and everybody else, it's gonna start next year. Now you're gonna hear the chatter of him fighting Earl Spence. Because Keith Thurman is apparently coming back, and if he gets the title, he gets that WBO title. Earl Spence said, "Bring it on." So I'm telling, somebody asked me the other day, what I think, any certain fights will happen. I said it'll probably be Terence Crawford and Earl Spence will happen before Keith Thurman versus anybody of relevance that you guys want to see fight. Could Jeff Horn beat Terence Crawford? Yes, it's the hurt game. I've seen stranger things happen in the sport of boxing, but I don't anticipate it will. This would be a good barometer for Terence Crawford moving up to welterweight so we can see where he at. If he's able to stop Jeff Horn, and Jeff Horn has a pretty darn good chin. I've seen him take a lot of shots from one of the biggest punchers in recent welterweight memory, in Randall Bailey, dead on the chin and really not flinch. He's able, if Terence Crawford is able to stop this guy in spectacular fashion, I think he's even more of a problem and a solution to the welterweight division. If he can crack like he cracked that 140 and 135, anywhere remotely close to that, he's definitely going to be a problem for anybody, But, if the power doesn't translate in the side, because Jeff Horn is one of the bigger welterweights, and Jeff Horn is able to outmuscle him and show durability and able to take his shots, and the shots and power isn't translating, then it just makes things that much interesting. Terence Crawford is going to have to move up like everybody else and finesse his competition and box and stick and move. And I think right there where it gets the most interesting, that does he have enough boxing ability to survive without having that big major power shot versus the Earl Spence or Keith Thurman? That remains to be seen. But if he could punch, it makes things interesting as well, because if he's able to put your lights out with that boxing ability and that finesse with the power, he's looking like one of the real players in the division. We know Earl Spence is more of a power fighter, coming inside, fighting on the inside, coming downhill. Keith Thurman is a little bit mixture of everything. Sean Porter is an aggressive guy, and you know what everybody else brings to the division. But they got 90 days to make this fight after Jeff Horn's next fight versus Gary. Who cares? And it'll be interesting to see. They're gonna try to push for this fight to be in Australia. I guarantee you that. But Bob Arum is in a position of power, and it will probably go down in the United States. And I hope it does go down in the United States, because Bob Arum can always use and say, well, I got you a Pacquiao fight in Australia. It's time for you to come over to the United States and showcase your gifts and get beat down versus Terence Crawford and hand over my belt and put my plan in full circle. And what's so important about Terence Crawford having a belt is the fact that, in negotiations, he brings something to the table. He's proved himself at 147. Now guys want to talk because he got a belt. That's the belt everybody really wants. That's the belt that hasn't been able to break the cycle, that stayed in Pacquiao's hands, that stayed in Tim Bradley's hands, that stayed in Jesse Vargas' hands, stayed in Jeff Horn's hands. That's the belt that PBC Al Haymon wants. So that's what Terence Crawford brings to the table. If he truly wants to fight against the best in the elite and in the welterweight, which is PBC, he'll give him a shot. We gone.